When you make the decision to renovate or redecorate your home, apparently your house isn't the only thing that needs to be in tip-top shape. Your relationship had better be ready to withstand some major drama. Well, one of the nation's most sought-after designers, Jennifer Adams, is here. Good to see you again.
See you.
And she's got Dr. Cason. He's a psychologist from Beverly Hills. There's a reason the psychologist is on the set today. They're here with some tips to help couples try to cope with this. Is redecorating really that bad these days, Doctor?
Yes, absolutely.
Are you serious?
I'm in people's most intimate spaces every single day. And decorating, rebuilding, remodeling, it all brings out the worst in couples. I see it constantly.
And it's one of the most stressful things that can happen. Actually, a lot of couples break up during the remodeling process, so what they end up with is a remodeled house and no relationship.
Is it because of the stress of the remodeling itself, or how much it's costing, or just differences in what they want to do with the redecorating process?
It's everything all together, because basically the couple gets into a fights about money or the sofa or whatever, but basically that brings out their deepest and darkest things that they need and want. So they get into all kinds of conflicts that reflect what it is going on inside, in themselves and in the relationship.
So how do you see this hurting the relationship? Like, it has to be pretty bad.
But it could be so simple, but it can cause an all-out war. And people won't listen to their spouses or their partner's tastes oftentimes and just assume they have bad taste.
Yeah.
So then I ask, so did they lose their taste the day they met you? Probably not. So
Let's figure this out.
Yeah, if it was your neighbor saying they like this or they like that, you would give them the respect. And so Dr. Greg has got a lot of good advice for how to give respect to your partner and looking at just deeper meanings behind things.
Right. Who ends up in your chair more, men or women, with this whole subject?
We see both around this thing. And people don't really come to therapists when they're going through the remodeling process. In fact, money is usually very tight. So what they do is they trim every other expense and they focus it into the remodeling. And what happens in the relationship is, because the remodeling will bring up all of their issues, then they fight more and have more problems.
Yeah.
Actually, there are two basic conflicts that couples go through. All couples fight for two basic reasons, believe it or not. One is a perceived threat, that there's something happening to them, and one is perceived neglect. Both happen in the remodeling process.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so now some tips. You mentioned that you've got to be respectful of each other's differences and your creative differences especially, but what else can you do?
You have to communicate and listen to what the other person has to say is my tip. And the other one that I see a lot of women that and men also, that completely remodel to the hilt and too much, and they're compulsive remodelers. And my tip for that is get a life. Get something else
outside of the house.
Because then your husband's going to come home a little bit sooner if the house isn't always in chaos. But find some other interests. Greg goes a little deeper than I go with that advice.
I can imagine. But apparently this has been such a big topic that it prompted a book, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. We're working on a book together because we did see such a need going on in the community. And so what we're trying to do is to help couples with these basic issues. And one of the things, just a tidbit about helping through the remodeling process that I advise, is every single day, ask yourself, how am I doing? How is the relationship doing? How is the remodel going?
Yeah.
And talk to that with your partner. That'll take less than 5 minutes. If you do that check-in every single day, you're likely to see a lot fewer problems.
Well, it's good to have both of you guys here, too. Make sure you put a chapter in there for before the remodeling arguments and after, just in case, because you never know. Good to have you guys here.